missed this voice. She's been off the musical scene for a moment, but now she's back refreshed and revived and ready to drop some new music. We're so happy to have recording artist Jah9 in the house, and I want to hear everything about her trip to the motherland. Morning, Jah9.
Good morning.
Welcome to Smile Jamaica. First of all, what inspired or motivated this move to Africa?
Okay, so we all went through a huge transition in 2020. And I happened to be on the road at the time. I was promoting my previous album, Note to Self. I launched it in Ethiopia, and days after, the world started to fall apart. We heard about the UK first, and that's where I was supposed to be heading. So obviously it's like, you can't go to the UK, you have to stay where you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not staying right here, because things started to get crazy in Ethiopia too. So I wanted to go to Kenya, and Kenya closed its borders very early. So there's a consulate in Tanzania, and we chose to go and spend time there because, we had connections over there.
Wow, but spend time turned into...
Yeah, it was supposed to be 10 days, turned into 3 months, then turned into 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
So walk me through that process. How does 10 days become 3 months, become 3 years?
So after 10 days, you have up to 3 months when you visit Tanzania. Okay. Most African countries are like that. You don't need a visa to go if you're Jamaican. You can apply for one online and you get 3 months. Okay. After the first 3 months, you have to leave the country. But because of what was going on, we were able to write a letter and say we need to stay longer. The world's crazy. And they gave us another 3 months. Yeah. And we just kept writing letters after that, we need to stay. And, I decided I'm going to apply for a permit to be here because I started to see opportunity and potential to be there. And I wanted to learn the language. Wow. So at first I wanted to apply to be a student there to learn the language and to study. Because coming back to Jamaica, I had planned to do some work with the university. In terms of more anthropological, self-study and, documenting my work and culture and so on. Nerd stuff, right? Yeah. And I actually decided to stay there and just start to observe. For the first 8 months that I was there, I just rested, slept, and was silent and didn't really interact, And then after that, I started to go out more and started to, interact with the people more, go on the social scene, because we didn't really have the pandemic in the same way, thanks to President Magufuli. He wasn't really so keen on that narrative, as I've said. So, so I had the opportunity to meet people, and I started to realize these people are so different from what I'm used to, the men and women of Tanzania.
In what way?
It's a gentler space.
Yeah.
People aren't as tense about the same things. Okay. There's this air of scarcity when you live on a small island because everything is limited. It's just a certain amount of land, it's a certain amount of jobs, it's a certain amount of things that are made available to you, things that you produce. When you are on the continent, even if you're just in Tanzania, you're on the continent. So you could literally drive anywhere. You could drive to South Africa. You can, and yes, we're given the narrative that, there's a lot of violence and there's poverty and there's all of that, as there is everywhere. But it's really about what you want from a space that you get. And, the law of attraction is a powerful thing. And I was there and I was thinking about economics. I was thinking about how do I build a family here? Because I've always wanted to go to Africa. My parents will tell you, since I was a little girl, I've wanted African children and to live in, that was a romantic idea in my mind. Yeah. But I went there and it became a very practical reality. Yeah, I saw how, yes, taxation is very heavy there, but opportunities are also very, very, very much there. And they are so welcoming of people who are interested and willing to invest. And there is so much land. And people are wealthy there. Yes, people are poor, but people have generational wealth there. And generational wealth looks different on an African. It's not, one... No, it's, we have this hundreds of, potentially thousands of acres of land in our family for generations. You see these people, they are farmers, they are practicing industry. and they are wealthy, and all of their children are fed, and all of the families are part of the business, and you marry, and some of them are Muslims, so they have multiple wives, so they believe in having children.
Right.
And you see it in the environment, like everywhere you go, there's a restaurant, it has an area for children. You know, it has a gym, they have an area for children, they have nurseries everywhere. So it's a very inviting space for children, and it's a very comfortable place. You don't have, people keep them place clean. So on the side of the road, you don't have as many people begging. You probably have people planting flowers, and it's just the side of the road, you know. But it's horticulture same way. Yeah, and you can buy your potted plants and so on, and it's beautiful. It becomes the decor, but it's also industry.
Right.
And people are making furniture, and of course they're traveling and they're getting wood, and it's inspiring. Mm-hmm. So if you are an industrious person, you know what I mean, the mindful and industrious of I need to go to Africa.
So I'm glad, because I've been one of those that's been advocating a change in the narrative about the continent, because when we grew up, a lot of the images that we saw would change our minds. Like, we wouldn't even think about going to Africa.
And that was the plan, eh?
And that was the plan.
Obviously.
But I like to say, if Jamaicans knew how beautiful the continent was and the opportunities on the continent, them couldn't stop us from supporting those
If
people.
they knew. And then, remember, I wasn't working for like 3 years. Yeah. I'd been working straight for the past decade, touring, producing, singing, writing, interacting, traveling. And then I have to stop everything all at once. And that means my resources are going to have a different kind of strain. Yeah. So if I was in Jamaica, you know what I mean? Yes, I saved my money and I invested well and whatever, but 3 years is still a long time. And I wasn't over there like living in a hut. Mm-hmm. I was living well in Africa.
Nice.
Things I could not do in Jamaica.
I love it. I love it.
Eating well. Yeah. And if you talk about food, like if you have potato here, you have 3 versions of that potato on the continent, right? And everything is just pregnant and beautiful and rich. And I put on weight, I say, for the first time in maybe 2 decades, I got weight on my body. And I'm like, yes, it also has to do with the lack of stress. But the type of food, and maybe the gravity, maybe the electromagnetics of the space. It's a powerful space. The Nile, the mouth of the Nile is in Tanzania. You have the Kilimanjaro. You have Serengeti. It's an amazing space.
It's an amazing space.
You know, and you don't hear people talk about it. Yeah, people can prosper. Absolutely.
So I'm hearing the passion, the inspiration. Are we going to be seeing that in music?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely, because that translates to, I'm not going to be here singing about come to Africa, you know what I mean? But we're going to be showing you how Africa looks on a woman. You know what I mean? When now she's not so worried about being mistreated, she go to Africa and she find love. Not just romantic, intimate love, but just sisterhood. And
love of self.
And love of self. And I've always loved myself, but you go there and you get an opportunity to practice love on other people too.
Level.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And people are more receptive to being loved in Africa, in Tanzania. They're welcoming. You stop and people going to greet you. Habari, nzuri, salama, nawewe. You know, it's 10 minutes of just greeting and you'd be like, oh, you know this person. No, like, no, I don't know.
Spreading love.
That's just how we are.
I tell you, our history as Jamaicans have shaped us in a particular way, but we can shape the future, and history is now.
Absolutely.
And we can make a difference.
Absolutely.
And I have to go. I could talk to your man and Miss Africa girl, someone hear everything. But we have to go. We have a video. Oh, yeah. Let's see the video before she leaves us.